This episode is powered by Poddex.
Well, I mean, you don't really have to wait, but are we doing like what we did last week, like interviewing?
Yes, already
Oh,
started.
lit. Oh, well, there you go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Improv the Talk Show. I'm Michael St. Gregory, once again joined with the cast of Improv the Game Show, Sketchprov exclusive on our Patreon page, and coming soon, you're gonna be able to see highlight clips on the YouTube channel, and we've got some bonus clips that are coming to the Patreon subscribers. But let's go ahead and pick up where we left off with our little origin story of sorts. We had just finished doing our first show over at Crossroads in Garwood, New Jersey, which was awesome. How did you guys feel after that show was done? And you guys, whoever wants to go.
I was definitely I think I was on such a high from that show that I was ready for round two, immediately. I wanted us to do it again.
Oh yeah.
And it just it kind of sucked that we had that gap in between to until July, right? It was July, wasn't it? July for Hackensack?
Yeah. It was
So it's
July.
there's a month or a month and a half between where we didn't do anything, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, that whole time we were doing rehearsals.
We were,
and the show
yeah.
had been booked ahead of time.
I was just ready to be performing again in front of a awesome audience like we had at Crossroads.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hyped after Crossroads. I tweeted. I distinctly remember my tweet. I could probably, go back to the source if we need to. But it was something along the lines of improv theater is amazing. I love improv. I want to do this forever. Yeah.
Oh,
so that was my thoughts of right after the show. I was hyped.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's and you and me and and I think almost everybody here has also done some just regular performance on stage. There is always that great post-show adrenaline rush. Mm-hmm. And I think it lends itself even more to when we do when people do improv on stage, because you have no idea what to expect, and the anticipation of, I love just being, well, not unprepared, but more don't having any expectations of what to come and just going in, completely blank-minded and ready to just go for it, because then it's exciting for me when things go a little weird, because then you can just kind of make something out of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you guys? So a lot of you had family in the audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what were their reactions initially? Because I don't remember too much. I mean, I remember people that were assuming I knew them coming up to me and saying, "You guys did such a great job," and I just had to think, that's probably a family member.
I know my mom and her friends were ready for round two. They were immediately ready for round two. They thoroughly enjoyed it. And a lot of my mom's friends who came with her never experienced improv before.
Yeah.
So this was a lot of first-time audience members.
Yes.
Yes.
So everyone that came for me was really excited, because they've never been to an improv show, so they didn't know what to expect, but they had so much fun.
Yeah. So, piggybacking on that, my parents came to the show, and again, I've never been in an improv show before. So, my parents haven't really been to an improv show before either. So they loved it though. Their first experience, they loved it. And so much so that our next show that we had at the Hack Pack, they bought a squad and a half with them. And a bunch of people that I had never met before, all their friends from work and stuff. And they're my parents are big improv fans now because of us.
That's so cool.
Good.
That's
Nice.
sweet.
Converting
good.
people to the cult.
Yeah, right?
And it's so funny because I actually have like a lot of my actor friends who have seen me perform, and they tell me that they're like, you guys are really brave. You're really brave for getting up and doing something like that. I could never do that.
Yeah,
I
we're
don't
the
know
real
if
heroes.
any of you have kind of gotten, I don't know if
Yeah.
any of you have gotten that from like your actor friends.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure, Mike, you've faced before like, oh man, I could never do that.
Yeah, no, I do get that. I don't really have any actor friends who also aren't improv friends, but just from people in general,
Don't worry, when
do
Mike
tend to
fires
get.
me, you will.
Oh, that's good. Oh, looking forward to that. Yeah, and then they'll ask you like, how do you come up with ideas? And it's like, that's such a, I can't give you a straight answer because you're not gonna like that I don't have like a process to walk you through.
Right. It's the
It's-
toughest question to answer. It's like if you went up to a
Right.
comedian and be like, "Hey, tell me a joke." It doesn't work that
That's the
way.
worst. Oh god, that's the
Yeah.
worst.
And that's the other thing too with like the pit, where I feel like it's like they give you the foundations of improv, but they don't teach you how to like they give you different tools to put in your belt,
Right.
but it's not, everyone kind of has their own approach. Like there's some people
Yeah.
who are character driven, there are some people who are plot driven, there are some people who just like to play game all the time. Like everybody kind of has their own unique approach to improv.
I think we're definitely going to have to do an entire episode that's just talking about like the real mechanics of the way we
absolutely,
do
for
things
sure.
and what we like about it. So we already had July in the schedule because I remember that was part of it when I made sure I let you guys be informed of at the audition. We was like, I've been to auditions before where it's just like, hey, let's put this thing together with no plan or no like prospects of the future. I'm like, how are you going to audition people for a show if you don't have a show? And with this one, I really, and I still believe once everything settles up, is that this was a show that's meant for theaters to go on the road. And I still do. And the real like litmus test for this was when we performed at the Hackensack Performing Arts Center, which at the time was a brand new theater. And well, I guess at this time of recording, it's still relatively new. But we got to be one of the first like real comedy shows that was there.
Yeah, I mean the Hackensack was a great experience to be there for one of their first times, and then getting the numbers that we did for it. And
Sorry, I think my mic cut out. I apologize. I realized I was talking over Bobby at that point. So with that being that we kind of opened the door, so to speak, for other shows to potentially be there. First off, when you guys got to the theater, what did you think of that? Like, what kind of experience, other than, me and Alex, we are already familiar with the space, having performed there before. But I'm curious what the rest of you guys thought.
Holy shit, this is a big venue.
It's like this is a legit theater. This isn't
I
like,
think it didn't really hit me until we were in the green room. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, dressing room makes a
Okay.
world of difference.
yeah, the fact that they
Yeah.
had a green room, yeah. It's
A legit one too.
yeah, right. Yeah, it had all the stuff that you expect from it. And it's like, yeah, you know what? This is an actual, good job, building this place because it's an actual theater.
I was ready to move into the green room.
Oh, I'm like,
Make us a permanent resident.
Oh, that's right.
It's like, so it's really awesome hearing your guys' like reaction to this because the Hack Pack is kind of like my home theater. And I mean, it was still new, but like before we performed there, I had performed there like 2 times prior. So like the shock value, like I didn't really have it, you know? I had been in the green room and I knew how awesome it was, but like hearing how like shook you guys are by it, like, I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah, I had auditioned at the theater for the first production that they put on. It was Spelling Bee, so only a certain number of people got cast in that, which wasn't me. So I
Oh,
wasn't
me
part of it.
too. Wait, Bobby, I auditioned for
Some
that
people
too, and
don't
I
know who
also
that
was
show
not
is.
in that.
But it's basically a show about a spelling bee where these kids, quote unquote, have all their problems that go into doing the spelling bee. It's a really fun show, and if anybody who
Yeah, great music.
likes musicals should definitely go see it if they don't know it, because it's just great, just good music and funny stories.
And the soundtrack is just great.
For sure.
We did our show. We rehearsed once again in the our church hall, which was just an awesome space, even though it was hot as balls in there sometimes.
Yeah, no, I loved the little church hall though.
Yeah, it was nice.
It wasn't that warm.
Yeah, it was. It was ridiculously hot.
What are you talking about?
We opened the doors just to let air in general.
Pretty sure I complained the most out of anybody.
Oh, absolutely. We were practically down to your underwear by the time we were rehearsing.
What can I say? The spirit moved me.
I distinctly remember there was a moment for me where it kind of all clicked in that was real. And it was just before the actual show. It was the day before the show. And up on the digital marquee was, Sketchprov Presents. And it was, at that time, it was called the Suggestion Box. But yeah, seeing it on the marquee, I was just like, this is a real thing. We're doing
really
this.
Cool.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Because they have a very nice marquee at that theater.
Yeah.
It's just like full.
Yeah, it's
bulbs,
pretty.
lights all around. Everything.
And I don't
glows.
know if you guys knew this, but like for like a week after, we were on like the pictures, like stills from the show, like from that night, were like on the main page of
Yeah.
Hackpack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, were they?
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
That for us.
So we're going to talk about the production of the show and putting it together and getting like crew and tech. First, we're going to take a quick break from our brand new sponsor. One episode
God.
in, folks, and we've got a friggin' sponsor. Isn't that amazing? All right. So we'll be right back
Yes.
right after this.
This episode is powered by Poddecks. Poddecks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Poddecks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddecks.com and type in coupon code. What's the code? Yes, that's the code. Check out poddecks.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
Welcome back to Improv, the talk show. We are discussing our very first theater show. I don't know why I do it radio style. I doubt people are tuning into a podcast halfway. Doesn't seem like a thing.
Listen, if Mark Maron can do two parts, then
That's true.
anyone can.
That's true. I'm just not going to go on an hour diatribe before the actual interview starts.
No, I think you should introduce what's happening every single time you stop speaking for more than 5 seconds.
Get into my personal life and just go on some strange tangent.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Here's our guest. So, God, where was it? Oh, yeah, the show.
You gotta be like,
So,
I want to know what
the
actually
show.
happens in the show. Please tune into minute 46.
So I
because
was
this
on
is
a
not gonna
mission.
happen till then.
I was on a mission to really kind of like make sure that the show could be sold, and obviously it didn't have any omniscience to see into the future, and that they weren't going to be able to be doing those kinds of shows soon. But I hired a cameraman. I got a really awesome photographer.
Yes, you
I put
did.
advertisements.
God damn it.
That's an
Oh,
inside
Jen.
joke that we're not going to go into. Oh, God damn it, Jen. Fuck, what was I talking about? Okay, crew. Yeah.
The cameraman,
Because
the
of your
cameraman.
podcast
Yes.
episode of Jen interviewing him.
And interviewing. So yeah, we got these awesome production people. The theater itself, their crew was so on point and so good with setting up our lighting and the sound mixing. I got us these lavalier mics. I wanted us to be clear and heard, and the space was beautiful, and the sound could be heard anywhere. So we got all these great people, and to open up the show, I booked a great comedian by the name of Emma Cohen. She was fantastic. She really got the crowd warmed up
great.
for us. Great material. And the whole gimmick to the show was that people were going to put suggestions into the quote-unquote box that we had. It was never really a box. It was just something that we had. And I'd be using those suggestions throughout the show. And then you guys were individually playing for randomly chosen audience members. And it was kind of like, okay, so now they have an invested interest, and we give away a prize at the end. And that hooked people in because we sold almost half the theater. And there's about 220 seats in there, I think. And we had about about 100 people in there, which was mind-blowing. Because when I went to introduce the show before Emma started her set, I saw everybody sitting there and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? This is insane. People want to see us. Oh God, we got to put on a good show.
Then Mike subsequently freaked out, started sweating, went back, and it was just raining. It was like,
Huge flop sweat in the back.
There's a hole. Was there a hole in the ceiling? Good times.
So that we got the show going, and I want to know what you guys felt. Mike, we'll start with you. What'd you feel as you were performing on that stage? Like, what were thoughts going on in your head during all the games and stuff?
I mean, this is gonna be like the worst answer ever, but like once the show actually starts, I tend to just like get like in like that zen sort of state of mind where it doesn't matter like what the venue is or like what the crowd is doing.
Yeah, it's a good thing we were doing comedy, because if it was like a serious show, I'm pretty sure Mike would be like rage murdering people just backstage, just out of character, you know?
Well,
He just gets very focused, and it's really funny because he's focused on joking.
He has an angry side to him you don't want to mess with.
yeah.
Alex, how were you feeling being someone who already performed in that space a couple of times, but in this atmosphere?
So, well, that show in general was just amazing for me, especially because I was actually recovering from an injury during that show. So I had been,
that's right.
I remember.
Yeah. So I had been out of commission for like my whole life. Like just everything was on pause for like almost a month at that point. So it was just really amazing, just like being able to do something and like being able to see people and make people laugh, and like, because that's something I love to do in my regular life, and my regular life had kind of come to a bit of a pause at that point. So that show was really just an amazing night for me. Just more especially because I was just so grateful to be able to have that at that point in my life.
And Jen, I know that you were you couldn't stop talking about how much you loved the theater once you walked in.
Yeah. And like I just remember like I distinctly remember thinking that this is the first time that I ever did a show where the setup process like was not stressful at all. Like I don't
Yeah,
remember
for you.
any of that being like, but I mean like I don't know, like I just don't remember anyone really being under a lot of stress.
Besides Mike.
But
Yeah.
I also like, you know, kind of like to piggyback off of what Mike said before, like I'm kind of the same where I kind of zen out when we start going. Like I don't really think about I don't really think about it. I think the only time when I'm improvising that I like start to get a little in my head is if the dynamic of the group is off to begin with.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
definitely used to get like that during like my grad shows at the Pit because the dynamics
By
sometimes
the way, for those
were
of you
just
keeping count, we've name dropped the Pit twice. I feel like eventually there's going to be a theme where people get to play
Take a
bingo
shot.
with this before we play. Yeah.
Take a
No,
shot.
because we're going to do an entire episode about that place. And, actually, that's our next one, talking about how we didn't do shows there.
But yeah, so I've always like the only time I really get into my head is if I know that the dynamic is not that great to begin with, and then having to like have this group of people get in front of an audience sometimes can be nerve-wracking, but like I didn't feel like that with you guys, and
Aw.
I definitely kind of zenned out too. Like I remember the games, but I don't remember how I was like necessarily feeling in the moment.
And by the way, the
No,
entire
I
show
agree.
is available on our YouTube channel. You can see the entire show from that Hackensack night, all in one convenient playlist. See what I did there, guys? That's like plugging the channel.
Well, I
No.
personally think that it's the natural way when you're doing an improv show to be like that, like zen out, as they're saying. It's because you have to listen to everything. You are hyper aware because you don't know when the next joke is going to be, and if you have to be the one making or somebody else has to be the one making it, you have to it's a listener's game. And that's my favorite part about improv, is that so many times when you're doing a stage show where there's actual lines already written out for you, people don't listen to the person that's next to them, and they're just waiting for their line to go, either by music or by when it always has, and then they just do it. And or say you say a line differently that day, and they should respond differently by the way you said it, yet they just say it the exact same way, and it throws off the entire show just because they're not listening. And that's where improv comes in as a very good way to rehearse that or be part of that and hone that technique. And that's what I feel is like amazing about my castmates, is they're all just excellent listeners. Mike always is you can I don't know, you just tell Mike is always just listening to everything that's going on, because if you just say something out of the blue, you mumble it to yourself, he'll respond to it. Or Jen will be right
Yeah, Mike
there.
never lets anything go, never lets anything past him. And it's one of the things I love, because again, like we said this last time, but if somebody just has like a little laugh or snicker during a scene just because of something you said, you'll stay in character and just be like, oh, why are you laughing? Or, oh, I'm so glad you think this is funny.
Yeah, no, you know what? If it happens, it's canon now. You put it out there. So
No matter how awkward or because there's always, you always get past that awkward situation, right, where it's like, oh, I awkwardly made a mistake. But if you just keep hammering in, now it's just part of the thing and everybody enjoys it, which is kind of funny, because instead of actually hurting your feelings, he's actually just helping you with whatever you said in the long run, which I always think is
And
cool.
sometimes those moments where it's just like everybody loses it because of something that happens and still own up to it, that's the stuff that people remember the most. And it's just, Like you guys were really on point that night, and it was probably because we rehearsed so much. We rehearsed so much for that show.
We did a lot.
I
Yeah.
apologize if I made anybody feel like, oh my God, we're doing this again.
We perfected our outfits for that show, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
We did.
Yeah, I'm sure
You
we all
did.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so in sync with that, Bobby. Time and time again. I told you, no jeans. This son of a bitch comes in wearing jeans, thinking
was
he's
great.
all, nobody will notice.
I was hoping you'd notice. It's all part
Don't
of
worry,
the master
you still got
plan.
paid. You still got paid. It was fine. But the good thing about the show afterwards, it was like, yeah, there was that great success feeling in the moment afterwards. We were just so hyped. We were so happy about the way things went. And the next day or the next week or so, sometime after, not too long after the show actually went up, the theater called me back and they were just like, oh, that was such a great show. Like, we got the best feedback from that show in replies in our newsletter that we have gotten anything so far. And they hit out like up to 1,000 people in that at that time, like weekly. And there was so much high interest for us to come back. And we were absolutely ready because we were going to do other stuff in other places, and then stuff happened. But we'll get to that in the next episode. But what I'd like to do now to close it up tonight, because this has just actually been going so well, and I love how much we've been able to just casually talk to each other like this. So we've got our last segment of the night, which is brought to you by Poddex. As you heard in the break, you guys can get a discount code from us by just typing in Sketchprov in the coupon area or whatever you do in checkout. I'm sure I said it clear during the break. I don't know. I didn't record it yet at this time. They got all sorts of questions. Yeah, I know. Everything is good in post. It's all better in post.
Polished.
Yeah, so polished. If you guys go to poddex.com, this is for anybody who, if you do podcasts or if you're just looking for, they also make like really fun conversation pieces for parties or games or anything like that you're just having around. I know I use them for these happy hour Zoom chats that I've been on with people where I just bring them out and just like, oh, you know, they have would you rather, interview questions, episode stuff. And this question is from the What the Heck deck. So everybody will get a chance to answer, of course. If you could marry a fictional character, who would it be?
Ooh, I got mine.
I know mine instantly as soon as you said it.
We'll go with Alex first. You got it first. You got it.
All right. So I'm going to go with Charlie from The Perks of Being a Wallflower. He's like, does anyone know that book?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I saw the movie too.
I love him. Yeah, no, me too. I love him in the movie. I love him in the book. He's just this like fragile little flower, and I just want to love him. And like, I choose Charlie.
And that's a full commitment. That's not marriage. That we're not just talking about dating where you can kind of, you know, separate after things have run its course.
I mean, well, I'm all in, man. I don't know.
I admire your commitment. Mike, how about you?
That would be Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Ooh, good one,
Oh,
Mike.
man.
That
Do I
is a
even
good
want to
one.
ask why?
I feel like in terms of like dating potential, me and Roger Rabbit have the same sort of like MO. And if she could put up with his bullshit, I assume she could put up with my bullshit as well.
Fair enough.
that's
Fair
perfect.
enough.
Jen, what about you?
I mean, even though our marriage would probably be cut very short,
Oh god.
I would have to go with Robb Stark from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that ain't lasting too long in that kingdom.
That ain't lasting. No, not at all.
Bobby, how about you?
Oh, it definitely have to be Thanos because if I had a problem, he would just end it like that.
Oh, there you go.
It's the ultimate divorce. Just snaps and you're gone.
Wait, I have another one. Can I answer again?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you were into polygamous relationship, sure.
All right, cool, lit. So then, all right, then, oh God. My other option would be Peter Pan. So that I can like
That's a
hang out in
little weird.
Neverland and like mother the Lost Boys.
Okay, so the first half
be
of
like
that
Wendy.
sounds like, okay, you're trying to like reap some benefits of location. The second one is a little more
mean-
admirable for the second part of the question. I don't mind that.
It's a tactical choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you
man,
are
like,
you are
okay,
in
come
childcare
on.
in general, so you know.
Exactly. But like, all right, hear me out. Little orphan babies, love babies. Okay. Pirates, love pirates. Mermaids, love mermaids. Tinkerbell, fucking fairies. Like, come on.
What about giant crocodiles?
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. Even better. They're afraid of a clock. Like, TikTok, bitch. We out.
I think you need to reread that story. Oh man.
Better yet, watch
I don't
Hook.
even know how to top any of these answers because I don't know if I should. I don't
It's
really.
also fair.
I guess. You know what?
Big one.
Princess Leia. I mean, just a
All right.
strong,
There you go.
independent woman, knows what she wants. As
Don't
you
need
know.
no man.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like we'd still get along, you know, because I just kind of like a person who's very in control of them, you know, of knowing what they want, how they do things, and she always has a plan, it seems. And I realize I'm just kind of describing my wife.
I'd say at the same time, she's like a politician, so like you'd always be in like the tabloids.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They'd always be looking for like something you do to screw up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, whatever it's called.
Well, this has been great. So, just some quick plugs, of course. Everybody, if you could please check out our Patreon page if you aren't already a subscriber. We start at $1 a month, and that gives you access to the things that come out weekly and the stuff that's already come out. We've got other tiers with other rewards. We're very grateful for the people who are already subscribing and continue to. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/sketchprofcomedy. Follow us on Instagram. That's the same, Sketchprof Comedy. And follow us on Twitter at just Sketchprof. Sorry, it's at Sketchprof, no comedy afterwards. Which some could debate on a bad day. That's apt. But no, we do our best. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to follow any of us, we'll have specific handles in the About section, which you can see in the video below.
Ooh.
Everybody, thank you
Ooh,
so
we getting
much.
fancy.
Next week, yeah. Next week when we come back, we're going to talk about the whole reason we really started doing the video shows, even though we have to be very careful what we say, or else YouTube takes away monetization. I'll just leave those opinions to myself in regards to that, because I never know who's listening. But thank you, everybody, for being here again. Next week, we're going to be joined by our brand new cast member, who we will be debuting in this upcoming episode of Improv the Game Show. And also, you guys will be able to hear from him firsthand, as he was going to be involved in our shows at the pit. We're very happy about that. And next week, we will see you again on Friday nights. Make sure, once again, please subscribe and share and do all the YouTube stuff. Thanks again for listening to Improv the Talk Show. I'm Michael St. Gregory. Have a great night.